Welcome everyone to this unique and special trip. Today I'm sharing an experience I had over 20 years ago, a tour of the Chernobyl nuclear accident site before the protective dome covered reactor number 4. This video isn't meant to be morbid, but rather to remember, respect, and reflect on the importance of preventing a nuclear catastrophe like this from happening again. It all started when I decided to hire an extreme tourist company that specialized in visits to Chernobyl. This company offered Army guides who would accompany us throughout the tour, ensuring our safety and providing expert information about the area. For just €150, I got a package that included pickup from central Kiev, the full tour, transportation, and some refreshments. The booking process was simple and quick, and before I knew it, I was on my way to one of the most iconic and awe-inspiring places in the world. During the tour, one of the most important aspects was passing through several security checkpoints. At each point, we were checked to ensure we were not contaminated with radioactive material. This process included thorough checks of our clothing, body, and hands. Once we passed the last checkpoint, we took the opportunity to take a photo with reactor number 4. It's an image that captures the magnitude of what happened here and the importance of not forgetting. Afterwards, we headed to an abandoned port. This place has likely been inactive for millennia due to the high radiation levels in its land and waters. It's a reminder of how radiation can make any attempt at human life unviable. Walking through it was a surreal experience, with a constant sense of respect and caution. Continuing our tour, we came to an area where the robots and machinery used at the very beginning of the disaster were on display. These machines were sent in the hopes of helping contain the situation and reducing the risks to humans. However, we learned that even these robots, designed to withstand extreme conditions, were vulnerable to the formidable radiation. Within minutes, their circuits were destroyed, rendering them useless for the task they had been assigned. This further underscores the magnitude of the disaster and the destructive force of the radiation released that day. At our next stop, we paused on a street and walked, visualizing how nature has reclaimed what was once hers. It is striking to see how, over time, plants and trees have invaded human-built structures. Buildings, streets, and parks have been swallowed up by vegetation, creating an image of desolation and rebirth simultaneously. This place is a powerful reminder that, despite technological advances and human influence, nature always finds a way to prevail and regenerate. Along the edge of the nuclear power plant, we finally arrived in Pripyat, the city where the plant workers lived. It seemed like a scene frozen in time. Every image, every corner, seemed frozen on that fateful day when everyone left the city, never to return. The schools, the amusement parks, the homes, everything was just as they had left it, creating a surreal and melancholic atmosphere. Walking through Pripyat is like stepping back in time, a constant reminder of the daily life that abruptly stopped and the lasting impact of the nuclear tragedy. Property, founded in 1970, was built to house the Chernobyl nuclear power plant workers and their families. The city, designed as a model Soviet community, had all the modern amenities of the time: schools, hospitals, parks, cinemas, and sports centers. At its peak, Pripyat was a vibrant city with a population of approximately 49,000. Residents enjoyed a relatively high quality of life with access to facilities and services uncommon in other parts of the Soviet Union. On April 26, 1986, everything changed. Following the explosion of reactor number 4, the city was quickly evacuated. Residents thought they would return within a few days, but they never returned. Since then, Pripyat has remained abandoned, a silent testament to the Chernobyl disaster. Today, Pripyat remains a ghost town, its buildings crumbling and nature reclaiming the urban space. It is a place steeped in history and memory, reminding us of the fragility of human life in the face of technological disasters. Returning to the nuclear power plant site, we began to notice radiation levels rising in certain spots. With our measuring equipment in hand, we saw radiation reaching an impressive 2 serenades per hour in some places on the ground. This level of radiation is extremely dangerous and incompatible with human life. Exposure to these levels for a prolonged period can cause serious health damage, including acute radiation sickness and potentially death. These points of high radiation reminded us of the invisible but lethal force that still lingers in the area even decades after the disaster. Caution and respect for these sites were essential as we continued our tour. Finally, we drew closer to Reactor number 4, the centerpiece of the Chernobyl disaster. This reactor, part of the Chernobyl nuclear plant, was where the explosion occurred on April 26, 1986. The story of this reactor is one of the most infamous in the history of nuclear energy. Designed as an RBMK-type reactor, Reactor number 4 became the epicenter of the largest nuclear catastrophe ever to occur during a safety test. A series of human errors and technical failures led to a catastrophic explosion. The explosion released large amounts of radioactive material into the atmosphere, contaminating vast areas of Europe. The original sarcophagus, hastily constructed after the accident, served to contain the radiation, but over time it deteriorated. These are some of the last photos taken before it was covered by the new containment. It was likely placed over the original sarcophagus, designed to contain the radiation for the next 100 years. On our way back to Kiev, we had to go through the checkpoints again to ensure we weren't carrying radioactive material. As we continued, we saw old scars from the Cold War, with Soviet monitoring antennas still standing, reminding us of the region's tense history. Ironically, I was the only one in my group to trigger an alarm at one of the checkpoints due to the presence of radioactive material in my shoe. Fortunately, it wasn't serious. I simply swallowed a little water, and the situation was quickly resolved. However, this incident was a reminder of how present radiation remains in some areas and the need to be extremely careful. This trip to Chernobyl has been one of my dreams come true and will undoubtedly be one of the most exciting trips of my life. Exploring this place with all its history and impact was a deeply moving and educational experience. These trips are very different today than they were 30 years ago. There are now many more controls, schedules, and guides to ensure safety and understanding of the area. If you need information about what's required for this trip, costs, or anything else, don't hesitate to ask in the comments. Thank you for joining me on this story and for sharing this journey with me. See you in the next video.